Бабушка.
Yes, child.
Why did Mama and Papa have to leave?
For survival, my child.
Why not stay here, where it's safe?
Because it is their duty. The USSR is a proud nation, but our neighbors across the border are not to be trusted. Stalin has declared the Soviet Union must be protected, no matter the cost.
Finally, after 5 years, holy can you believe it's been 5 years? Hearts of Iron has gotten an expansion which focuses primarily on the Soviet Union, arguably the best of the worst, so to speak, at long last giving that faction a highly renovated focus tree which adds so much to immersion and the depth of Soviet gameplay. But a Soviet faction tree is not the only new thing in this expansion, and we'll go over all of them in this video. And if that sounds good to you, I hope you'll leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. No Step Back is one of the largest Hearts of Iron 4 expansions yet. Previous expansions have tended to focus on smaller parts of the game, like adding focus trees for various nations, or adding new mechanics that are more or less liked. My favorite expansion so far is probably either Waking the Tiger or Man the Guns, as the former adds an important alternate history path for Germany, while Man the Guns adds the all-important fuel mechanic which changes up the game. No Step Back then is almost a combination of the two because it not only adds focus trees to several previously untouched factions like the Soviet Union, Poland, and the Baltic States, but it also adds a new way to customize your army command, updates the tank designer, and perhaps the biggest addition which affects every nation on the planet, a new supply system which is crucial to pay attention to. So let's begin with the Soviet Union and see what's changed. As you probably know, the Soviet Union is in a precarious situation in 1936. Stalin rules with an iron fist, but the old Georgian is still fearful that his newly formed Union of Socialist Republics will be plunged into chaos by old monarchists or indeed Bolshevik opposition led by Trotsky. He's actually so paranoid that the USSR now has its very own paranoia system, which sadly will force you to either kill off your generals one by one, or deal with massive political power penalties and ultimately lead to great purges which will force you to take even more extreme action, giving you massive penalties to your society and research community, army, navy, or the air force, until you've gotten long down enough in the focus tree to actually stop this. Stalin is paranoid for good reason though, at least if you choose to go the alternate history route, since the Soviet focus tree now allows us to actually support Trotsky and attempt to make him the leader of the Soviet Union. This aspect is likely the biggest Soviet change in that the focus tree, meaning the national possibilities, have been wildly expanded. The Stalin paranoia purge has gone from essentially being one click to being like 8 different parts of the branch, and that's not counting the various communist paths or the reinstitution of the monarchy path. In addition, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Paradox have made it essentially impossible to rush the lessons of warpath now, as the focus now needs you to have waged a war against a major power, not just a minor country here and there. This might shake up a playstyle or two, and combined with the rest of the focus tree, which now is a lot more granular, will force you to create new tactics and strategies. The same goes for Poland, Hearts of Iron's favorite punching bag. Poland as well has a vastly superior focus tree this time. You can now not only bring back the monarchy, but actually create your very own Polish-Lithuanian Commonwealth, which is tailor-made for all you medieval monarchists out there. Perhaps most interesting though, is the peasant strike and the Polish government in exile mechanics. In the former, you'll be able to lead a revolution which will take Poland in a more democratic or more socialist direction, with several choices and paths to take, and the latter, where you'll be able to actually continue playing after your territories have been occupied. You'll be no major force here, but if based in the UK or France, you can continue to recruit a specialized force and sabotage the Germans through the spy and intelligence mechanics. Combined with all of the alternate history paths for vassalizing Romania, Hungary, and the Baltic States, allying the Nordic and Scandinavian countries, or even supporting either Germany or the Soviet Union in either a fascist or communist government, Poland now has so many different ways to play, making it one of the most varied factions in the game. Now let's talk about the biggest meta change in the game, namely the newly added supply system. And this is a big one, and honestly, it's really quite complicated. Instead of simply having an infrastructure modifier, We can now construct our own railways which supply is transported on, in addition to building new supply depots where supply is extracted from. Your armies will draw supply from the areas they are currently in. So if we see the supply map, areas that have ample supply are in blue, while areas with lacking or depleting supply are in red. This can seem quite scary in the beginning, and honestly, I'm not an expert quite yet, but I am determined to learn it fully. The gist of it, however, is to be mindful of not keeping too many troops in the same location if you cannot supply them, and various factors related to your armies or units will also determine how much supply they can use. This is complicated enough during peacetime, but during war, it's a whole nother deal, and the addition of supply actually makes war a lot more realistic, making it harder to wage war in areas that are far away from your own core, since you might not have a good enough supply route connected to your armies. Every route has to be connected to your capital to work ideally, and they even have individual levels, meaning that you can upgrade your rails over time to increase your supply capacity. I'm sure we'll see a ton of guides and tutorial videos on the supply system, and I'll be sure to check them out myself once they're here. My favorite part about the railway network though are definitely the trains. There are some other bigger changes as well. If you check out the technology screen, the Army Doctrine tab is gone. Instead, we have a new High Command Army-centric window, entirely focused on your forces. Here you can add modifiers which will grant you bonuses to various parts of your army, navy, and air force, and indeed upgrade your army doctrine. But the way you do so has changed, no longer working the way other technologies do. Instead, you need to fulfill certain conditions like stocking up on army experience, which can take years to actually get enough of. In addition, the new tank designer allows us to modify our tanks, balancing defense and offensive capabilities with speed and reliability, all factors which you'll have to take into consideration. New armor upgrades can be researched from the technology tree, making that German-Soviet pact even more lucrative than ever. No Step Back is a massive new expansion for Hearts of Iron 4, especially if you're interested in playing as the Soviet Union, Poland, or the Baltic States. But there is so much here for every other nation as well, mainly the new supply system, the military high command tab, and the tank modifier. If you're not too keen on rejoining World War II right now, I would say wait for a sale. But if you really want a much enhanced Soviet or Eastern European experience, No Step Back is a great addition to the game. Just make sure to learn the supply system before going ham. It'll help you in the long run, trust me. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, I hope you leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.